Hello, everyone. This is Athia Bardwaj taking MGT 16 with Professor Harold in winter 2025 with section number A00. This is part of the final video project with the title Another Ethical Dilemma and prompt Interview your parent about an ethical dilemma they faced and discuss the 8-step model as applied to your parent's ethical dilemma. Include the decisions they would make under the three simple models. As for my mother's contact information, her email is listed on the slide. It's pardwajarchie@gmail.com. Um, in response to the prompt, an ethical dilemma is defined as a situation where a conflict arises among the individual's core values and the person has to make a difficult choice during that time. My mother's ethical dilemma entails whether to let me come to UCSD in an entirely different continent or enroll me in one of the nearby colleges. The two values in conflict would be maintaining familial ties or prioritizing my success and career. My mother is an individual who prioritizes her immediate family. Moreover, my mother and I share an emotional bond like no other as an only child. According to the 8-step model, the first step includes gathering facts. During this part, my mother stated that she assessed various aspects of allowing me to come to UCSD, like its alignment with my major, if the campus exhibited cultural inclusivity, security, and evaluated potential research opportunities. She also assessed my abilities and competencies, like if I was mature enough to handle living alone, working while balancing a rigorous academic environment. Moreover, her worries were put to rest as she observed my maturity level when I took college app projections happily and exhibited great academic standing in the rigorous high school years. While interviewing while interviewing my mother and guiding her through the 8-step model, we identified the ethical issue that was whether to prioritize my success in my career or prioritize her emotional familial bond with me. This is a conflict between prioritizing success as a value and familial bonds. To gain a nuanced perspective, my mother consulted my father, and they both stated that they had a long chat about the pros and cons. Um, about me coming to UCSD with my father having a more financial input. As part of the third step, which is identifying all stakeholders, my mother and I majorly discovered that there were a few, including the immediate family, that is my father, my mother, me, my grandparents, UCSD, and my high school. After identifying basic background information, we moved on to the fourth step of the model, which was the consequences model and what decision would be taken under it. The consequences model states that a decision weighs the consequences of the action. Moreover, an action must be taken as long as no one is harmed. And according to the ethical dilemma my mother faced, she assessed the pros and cons of sending me. Firstly, she would not be able to see me for months on end, which might lead to feeling isolated, difficulty adjusting without me due to the bond that we share, with a financial strain on my family due to the high tuition costs for an international student. While the positives would be being able to see my growth in career, independence also, she would see me become a more responsible individual. Moreover, in the long term, my mother would have been proud of seeing my achievement. Here, there might be a few reasons for my mother not wanting to send me abroad. She had a really sheltered life growing up, so she wanted the same for me. In conclusion, my mother would have taken the decision of not sending me abroad because the consequences of not sending me outweigh the benefits of sending me to UCSD. Moving on to the second model, which evaluates the obligations as an individual, specifically as my parent, this model addresses the moral dilemma by evaluating what kind of a world would it be if everyone acted the same way as me. As my mother, she's responsible for providing me with a good education, allowing invigorating experiences like studying abroad, and broadening my cultural experiences. As an obligation to her daughter, my mother would be influenced to send me abroad to college. Moreover, if everyone inhibited their children from intellectual growth and personal development, it would be a world where potential is not given preference. This world would not prosper, hence, no one would want to live there. As the third model, which focuses on the greater good of the individual, my mother would have been driven to send me to a college that was most appropriate for intellectual development, putting her selfish intent aside. She would be a good person and allow maximization of my true potential. The seventh step of the model would be looking at creative solutions, which, as stated by my mother, they were allowing me to settle at a nearby college and maybe send me abroad for a short term, like an exchange program. And the eighth and final step would be includes checking your gut feeling. During the interview, my mother stated that she felt that I should go abroad for my education, which was a part of the reason why she decided to take the decision of sending me here. In conclusion, this interview was a success at unraveling the ethical dilemma my mother faced and allowed her to gain a deeper understanding of how to assess various components employed at making a decision, like consequences, moral obligations, and inherent good. It is simply not one aspect contributing to her decision, but multiple, including emotions. My mother made the choice of sending me to college here at UCSD through a process of informed decision making with taking feedback from current students, looking at the financial aspect, and analyzing my capabilities. Moreover, after this interview, my mother was intrigued by the very process of the eight-step model because it did not put a lot of significance on emotions. Moreover, I asked my mother during the interview if she would change her decision with how she noticed that this model was lacking emotions. She said no, because despite not knowing the structure of the model, she was still able to make the strategic decision with respect to most aspects of the model. Furthermore, through this activity, my mother was able to understand the structure of the model, which would enable her to make a decision faster. As one of her complaints from before was that the process of taking the decision was not structured and time consuming. In summary, this was an invigorating process for me and my mother because it was the first time she expressed her ethical dilemma in front of me, and I felt appreciative of my parents for being open about such situations with me. Moreover, it was insightful to see how my mother arrived at the decision despite not knowing what the model truly was. Thank you.